Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. I'm Aisha, your host. There's a lot we can learn from one another despite our religious differences. It is our hope that through this series, Bridging World Religions, we can do just this, appreciate each other's religions and learn important values we can all relate to. In this episode, let's sit down with Dr. Shabir and learn about the religions of India. Welcome to the show, Dr. Shabir.
Pleasure to be on.
So we're talking about world religions again, but obviously we're focusing on the religions of India. So what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and by that obviously we mean not the many religions that are present in India today, but we're thinking about the religions that originated in India or are well known for their origins in India. So 4 religions come to mind in this regard: Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and Sikhism. So we can only deal with Hinduism perhaps in this show, and we leave the others for a future show.
And what do we know about Hinduism, about its origins, how it came about?
Hinduism is actually said to be the oldest of the world's major religions today. It originated, some say, with Aryan invaders who came down into India about 2500 BC. And they brought with them some of their beliefs and gods and some of their sacred writings. The sacred writings of Hinduism are divided into 2 major categories: the Shruti, or the heard texts, referring to the idea of some kind of inspiration that some sages in the past received, and then the Smriti, or the remembered texts, which are the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. As for the Shruti, or the heard texts, the inspired ones, these are most popularly the Vedas, and among them the Rig Vedas, which is said to be from around 1500 BC, making it the oldest of the world's religious scriptures that we have today.
And what is it about Hinduism, what principles can we take and relate back to Islamic principles as well?
Well, there are many things which Muslims can appreciate about Hinduism. One is that they have sacred scriptures, and in the Quran we have the term used, people of the book, which commonly refers to Jews, Christians, and Sabians. When Muslims entered India, they had to think about how do we regard Indians. People of the Hindu faiths are they people of the book as well, and some would have tried to classify them that way by thinking, okay, they have some sacred texts, and while we will not agree with everything that is in these sacred texts, nonetheless we recognize that these are people who are following some sacred texts, as opposed to people who are just simply making up their own religion as they go, and inventing their own morality and so on. So that's something to appreciate. Another thing that Muslims can appreciate about Hinduism is that there is the law of karma, which is said to be in operation. And Muslims have something similar in the sense that we believe that we reap what we sow. Your deeds, whether good or bad, accumulate either credits in your favor, good deeds, or demerits against you in terms of bad deeds. In the Hindu philosophy, you reap the rewards in another life here on this earth, but in the Muslim concept, you reap the rewards in the life hereafter. You live once in this life, and then you face judgment, and then you get the rewards of your deeds in the life hereafter. But nonetheless, the idea of karma is an important guiding principle, in that it helps you to be on the straight and narrow, realizing that your deeds do have consequences, and if more people thought about the karma that they're accumulating, the world would be a much better place.
And in Hinduism, do they also have this idea, because we go to mosque regularly and that kind of thing and fast, do they have similar principles as well?
The puja, or worship in Hinduism, is a daily routine, and that's another thing that Muslims can appreciate, because Muslims, of course, worship on a daily basis. And many others worship on a daily basis as well, but there are formal Muslim prayers on a daily basis. And it's interesting to see that Hindus, a devout Hindu, would also be ceremoniously offering prayers on a regular basis. Connected with this is that some very ancient Hindu shrines have been discovered, and it's found that they had washing facilities, which means that washing and purification has been a very important part of the Hindu faith from a very early time. And that would put it in resemblance with the Muslim faith, at least in this one respect, in that Muslims generally emphasize washing a lot. The hadith says, "At-tahuru shatrul iman," cleanliness is part of faith. And Muslim mosques typically have a washing facility so that when devotees come in, they wash first before joining the ranks of prayer, unless they had already pre-washed before coming to the mosque. So the idea of purification is one of the things that Muslims can appreciate.
I think you've given us a lot to appreciate. How do you think we can foster positive interfaith dialogues and relationships? Because I don't know if we see that as much, or as much as we'd like to, or that we can maybe.
Yeah, this is something for Muslims to think about some more. Often we have dialogues between Muslims and Christians, and sometimes Muslims, Christians, and Jews.
Yeah, that's more commonly heard.
But it would take something like a multi-faith gathering, a sort of gathering of many faiths together, for us to think of a Muslim being in conversation with a Hindu. But we can and should. I know your question is about the how, and I'm saying we should. I think if we, first of all, have the idea firmly in our minds that we should, then maybe we'll discover the how. But perhaps we can start thinking now. Muslims should be reaching out to the people of other faiths, to those of the Hindu faith in particular. We can contact them and through their mosques, their mandirs, their temples, and try to organize some dialogues of a public nature so that similarities can be discussed and brought to light. And of course, our Hindu friends are some of the most tolerant people when it comes to world religions, because that's one of the aspects of Hindu teaching, because so many religions have coexisted in India. In fact, when we speak about Hinduism today, we're giving it a single name, but this is more so we might speak of dharmic religions that have at its root the idea of dharma, that you fit in a certain place within the global system. And because there are so many religions that we're classifying under the single term Hinduism, and so many gods, there are thousands of gods, which are, the Rig Veda itself is 1,000 hymns, each one to a separate god. So what this has done for people of the Indian subcontinent is to give them a sense of tolerance for others. I have a god, you have a god, and we can live together even though we have other gods. Of course, Muslims believe that there is only one God, but sometimes the idea of monotheism has led to bloodshed, where people think, I have the true God and your God is false. There's only one true God and everything else is false. Hindus have become tolerant by the nature of their environment and the multiplicity of the gods and followings in their region. And the tolerance itself is a good thing, regardless of how this tolerance came about. But that tolerance can be developed among monotheists as well. Monotheism does not imply bloodshed, actually quite the opposite, because if we believe in and follow the one God, that one God is instructing us not to take the lives of other people, that life is sacred, and that monotheistic belief actually should make us think that we're all creatures of the one God, and therefore we shouldn't be fighting against each other and killing each other. But nonetheless, in short, Hinduism is a tolerant set of religious beliefs, and we should be reaching out to our Hindu friends for dialogue.
Just as we wrap up, I know you do a lot of interfaith dialogue. Have you had any with just with the Hindu community? Once, when I was in Trinidad many years ago, I had an encounter with somebody of the Hindu faith, and in some of our multi-faith dialogues, we have had representatives from Hinduism and Buddhism and other faiths as well. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
Hey YouTube, we hope you benefited from this video. If you liked it, or if you didn't, let us know in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning more, check out some of our other videos. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.